This is the exact moment when America's invincible pride turned into a pile of charred scrap metal in a matter of seconds. December 1964. Deep within the sprawling rubber plantations of South Vietnam, a deadly mesh trap was being woven. Just 40 miles from the beating heart of Saigon, the Pentagon had no idea. They were about to suffer their most humiliating defeat since the conflict began. Imagine this. You have the world's most advanced helicopters, you have the toughest armored carriers, and you have the smartest generals money can buy. Yet, you are losing to an army that, on paper, shouldn't even exist. Welcome back. Today, we are deconstructing the steel punch known as the Battle of Binh Gia. This wasn't just a skirmish, it was the strategic masterpiece that officially executed the U.S. strategy of special warfare. We're going inside the tactics, the blood, and the mechanical carnage that shook the White House to its core. Let's dive in. By late 1964, the high-ranking officials in the Lyndon B. Johnson administration were brimming with confidence. They believed they had solved the Vietnam puzzle with a simple, high-tech formula: South Vietnamese troops, directed by U.S. advisors and backed by two technological monsters, Heliborne and Armor-borne warfare. The concept was simple. Use the UH-1 Huey helicopters to drop troops anywhere, at any time. Then, use the M113 armored personnel carriers to steamroll any resistance with overwhelming firepower. To the American generals, the Viet Cong were just ghosts in the jungle. Invisible, yes, but easily crushed by the sheer weight of American steel. But at the hidden headquarters of the Liberation Forces, a daring plan was being drafted. They didn't just want to win a battle, they wanted to break a strategy. They needed a location close enough to threaten Saigon, yet rugged enough to turn American technology into a liability. A place where the hunter would finally become the hunted. That place was Binh Gia. Why Binh Gia? To understand the magnitude of this battle, you have to look at the map of 1964. Binh Gia was a strategic village located on Route 2 in Bahria Province. The terrain was a deadly paradox: vast open fields, perfect for helicopter landings, flanked by dense ancient rubber plantations. For the Americans, the open fields were an invitation. For the Liberation Forces, the rubber trees were a sanctuary. The thick canopy neutralized aerial observation, allowing thousands of troops to hide in plain sight. Furthermore, Binh Gia was a key strategic point. By seizing it, the Liberation Forces would humiliate the Saigon government, forcing them to send their most elite firefighting units into a rescue mission. This was the lure and destroy tactic. They weren't just fighting for land, they were setting a trap for the best of the best. In the dead of night, on December 2nd, 1964, the silence of the Bahria countryside was shattered by a deafening roar of gunfire. The 761st Regiment launched a lightning strike. In less than an hour, Binh Gia fell. The local militia was swept aside. It worked exactly as planned. By the morning of December 3rd, the Saigon High Command panicked. Believing this was a minor hit and run, they scrambled the 33rd Ranger Battalion, one of their most brutal units. The sound of Huey helicopters thumping through the air signaled their arrival. They landed in the fields west of the village, confident in their air superiority. But as the first boots hit the mud, they weren't met by a fleeing enemy. They were met by a wall of lead. Machine guns, RPDs, and K-44 rifles opened up from the tree lines. In a single day, the 33rd Rangers were decimated. The Sea Tigers were bleeding, but the Pentagon's response would only make it worse. This was only the prelude to the nightmare. By the loss of their Rangers, the U.S. decided to go all in. On December 29th, they deployed their most elite strategic reserve, the 4th Marine Battalion. The sky was filled with bombers dropping napalm, turning the rubber forest into a burning inferno. But the liberation fighters utilized a terrifyingly brilliant tactic, clinging to the enemy's belt. They stayed so close to the South Vietnamese Marines that U.S. air support became useless. The pilots couldn't drop bombs without killing their own men. The battle turned into a horrific house-to-house, tree-to-tree meat grinder. When the M113 armored carriers tried to break through, they were met by specialized tank hunting teams. For the first time, B-40 and B-41 anti-tank rockets made their debut, turning the impenetrable steel shells of the M113S into giant flaming coffins. By the afternoon of December 30th, the legendary 4th Marine Battalion ceased to exist as a fighting force. Their American advisors were dead. A wave of shock and disbelief paralyzed the military command in Saigon. The ghosts had won. The campaign ended on January 3, 1965. The final tally was staggering. Over 1,700 enemy troops neutralized, 45 aircraft destroyed, and dozens of armored vehicles turned to ash. But those numbers don't tell the full story. Binh Gia proved a devastating truth. Even with helicopters, even with tanks, even with the wealth of a superpower, the U.S. could not win. The special warfare strategy was officially dead. The Pentagon realized a cold, hard fact. If they didn't send in hundreds of thousands of their own combat troops, the Saigon regime would collapse like a house of cards. Binh Gia was the steel punch that forced America to change the course of history. Today, the scars on the rubber trees may have healed, but the echo of Binh Gia remains, as a testament to the art of Vietnamese warfare, overcoming a giant with nothing but intellect and unyielding courage. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. If you found this tactical breakdown powerful, hit the like button and subscribe to ensure these legends are never forgotten. Until next time, history continues.